Hello and welcome to your favorite podcast, the Be Happier podcast, on which we hold crossroad conversations with amazing souls and beings of consciousness from all over the planet. And today it is my privilege and absolute honor to welcome to our show, your show, my dear guest, Matthias Loschner, who is a publisher of Enspire Books, and he is based in Germany. So, Matthias, go ahead and, in your own words, introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, I'm a book publisher based at the moment in Germany, but soon I will travel a little bit around the world. So I work from wherever I'll be. So that was basically always my dream of doing that. So now I try to fulfill it. Yeah, I love. It's been over 10 years ago that I published my first book, while I was actually studying to become a kindergarten teacher. But I always knew I would never work as a kindergarten teacher, really. So books have always been my passion. So I started this book publishing, and yeah, here I am now publishing my third book this year, and I'm super excited about this.
Wow, kindergarten teacher turned publisher and
Yes,
a
pretty
globe
much.
trotter, a world traveler. I love the
Yes,
word globe trotter, world traveler, and yeah, someone who helps others also
yes,
fulfill
absolutely.
their dreams, because we all would love to live an impression on this planet, our own paw prints on this planet before we leave, build a legacy, or just touch a few souls,
Mhm.
because why else are we here? But most of us struggle with that. We don't know how to do it, or we know what we want to do, how to do, we don't know. Some of us don't even know what we want to do. But you got started. Tell us about your journey, you know, how you chose to become a kindergarten teacher, and from there, how you came into this publishing business. Tell us about it.
I was actually doing my last years in college, and the college I was first for economy and law, and but I really was terrible at economy, and I wanted to become a lawyer first, but I was terrible at economy, so I couldn't last at this college, so I had to change. And so when I changed the college, it was more like focused on teaching and all the stuff. So I got basically pushed into it. But then after the college, I left and lived in Connecticut for a year, where I did like an au pair year, living with the family and looking after their boys. And when I got back, I had no idea really what I wanted to do. I already started writing and reading a lot. So I kind of knew I wanted to do something creative, but the typical German thing is always go for safety first, like have safety so you can fall back onto something. And I was young, I was not really like myself at this point. So I kind of listened to my parents and everyone around me. So I kind of started doing this kindergarten stuff, which I not really wanted to do. But it was at the same college where I been before, and so they basically just I didn't need to do anything. So basically, I just went there, told them like I want to do this studying, and they said, yeah, just start. It starts in a couple of months, so just apply for it, and you're already in basically. So it wasn't much of a struggle to get into it. But yeah, while I was studying, I kind of knew I was getting more serious about my writing. And so I felt like I want to publish. So I looked for traditional publishers and got more. After my actual study, I went home and basically studied what I'm doing now. And yeah, I got more serious about my writing, and I knew that I wanted to take the next step. But traditional publishers are like old people feel like it's like old fashioned, like outdated sometimes. And I started writing a book about the niche I grew up since I'm 10 years old playing in bands, like especially the hardcore punk community, the vegan community. And so I wanted to write about this and historical development and evolution of this kind of subculture. And since I grew up, I knew that there's no traditional publisher who would actually know how to market this book. And so I've basically educated myself and started my own publisher and self-published my first book, which was which sold in like 60 different countries, over 600 copies within the first month, and where I felt like, whoa, this is like, I did not expect that. So, but from then on, I went on. I started working a little bit as a publisher. I know, as a kindergarten teacher, I mean, but I knew straight away this is not my life. This is not going to be my life. And so I quit my job and packed my bags and moved to Australia, where I lived for 7.5 years. Um, I worked several jobs, from a carpenter to babysitting again to a warehouse, all the stuff. But I always stuck to publishing, stuck to writing, and yeah, I've got a position at a publisher, at a local publisher there, where I got more. But I used it more for educating myself, not for. I already knew this is just like temporary because I wanted to get more into it and I wanted to gain more knowledge about publishing, about writing, about the whole management and production behind it. So yeah, I used this kind of as a win-win. They got me and I got something out of it. So, but then I quit my job because I knew this is not going to be my path, and because I don't want to work for any corporate. I want to be on my own, work on my own terms, basically. And this is when I quit my job. But a few months afterwards, Corona happened, the whole pandemic, and because I was not an Australian citizen, I kind of had to leave the country and got back to Germany and had to start all over again. And this is where I started. I want to rekindle the idea of publishing books and want to go really serious into it. So, with the idea, I'm not depending on anyone, on any location, or anything that is happening in this world. As I witnessed from the time during the pandemic, basically I lost everything I was building up in Australia. So got back with nothing. And now I felt like, no, this cannot happen again, no matter what's going on in this world. So yeah, this was my goal. And then when I got back, I got to know a few people who wanted to start their own business, but there's a lot of fear in us. So this, which basically keeps us frozen to actually live who we want to be. And I felt like this is like, am I the only one who feels this way, that wants to break away from this construct we call society? Is it just me? Am I just weird, or what's going on? So I've got in touch with a lot of other people from around the world who are entrepreneurs, coaches, who have basically stepped away from the normal path of this conventional society. And I've had this idea of, why don't I collect like little stories of those people, and they tell me about their challenges, about when did they have the idea, what did they do to actually fulfill their dream, about their challenges. Because I know, once you have an idea, it's easy to have an idea, but take action and actually start doing it. It's the most it's like the biggest step people will do. And so yeah, I've started working on my first basically multi-author book, as a collective of people from all around the world who share their stories about how they started, what challenges. And with my goal was not only to publish this book, but also hoping people will read it, get inspired by it. So this is basically my main goal with Enspire Books, to inspire people, encourage them, because I feel like society, school, our parents, teachers, they not really encourage us to be ourselves, to basically to go our own way. They want us to conform to what they know. So I felt like, no, let's break away. And there are a lot of people out there who want to break away, to want to fulfill their own dreams, but are just too afraid to actually do it. So yeah, then I published this first book, and it got the number 1 on Amazon, which is amazing. I was so psyched about it. I was like, oh my God, how did this actually happen? I sold quite a few, and from all around the world, and the feedback from people, especially that I know that have read the book, that like was crazy. And I wasn't sure if I want to do a second book so fast, because I started writing about my own experience with the subculture and what really interests me, the subculture I grew up with, because it's always misinterpreted by media and a lot of sociologists, all these PhDs, they want to tell you how subcultures work. They want to tell you how the life I'm actually living works, but without actually have ever experienced it. So I
Mm-hmm.
felt like this is my goal. I want to write this book with real people who are involved in all the stuff, who can actually tell the real life experience. But then people contacted me and asked me if I do a second volume of the Action Speaks Louder book.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when I started working on the second book, which will hopefully published in around June this year.
Mm.
Yeah, that's pretty much a story so far in a nutshell. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. I hope people took the time to really listen to every word you were speaking because you gave us so much. You were at crossroads more than once, more than two times, more than three times. Imagine building yourself up and losing everything in Australia, in a foreign country. Like I was born and raised in India, but I live in a foreign country, the USA. And right now, the way the state is, I don't know what is my country. And I have always believed that I'm a global citizen. I belong to the
Yeah.
world. Whereas coming from India, you may think I'm an Indian, but in India, I'm not an Indian because my mother is Bengali and my father is Telugu. Because Indians don't consider themselves Indians when they are in India. They think they're Gujarati, Punjabi,
Yeah.
different kind of people, like in Germany, you have all the Bavarians, all the Berliners. Right?
Yes. It's
Yes,
different. Yeah.
it's different. Like in the United States, yes, we think we are Americans over here, but we are still like, no, we have the Southern tradition. We are from the Midwest. We are from the Northeast. We are from California. We have that. But in India, because we even speak different languages, so at birth, I didn't know where I belonged.
Yeah.
At birth, I didn't know where I belonged, and I'm a firstborn. So my sister, when anyone asked her, so where are you from? Because basically they wanted to ask, like, what is your mother tongue? What is the language you speak at home? And she would say herself, I'm a khichdi, which means I'm a hot pot. So I loved that. So in a way, today, the world is for those who have survived and not conformed. And like you said, you are a German and they want you to play safe. I'm an Indian and we want us to play safe. Asians will say that, yeah, be safe.
Yeah.
A cobbler's son will be a cobbler, a guitarist's son will play the guitar. Yes, conform. And this is what I say as a hypnotherapist. Your critical mind is here to keep you safe, but feeling sorry.
Mm.
You'll be safe, but you'll be feeling sorry. And at the end of the life, nobody cares how much money you made. People only care about how many lives you have touched, how much joy you brought to anyone. So your first book had 13 authors, the book in which I was. So
Yeah.
13 lives you have changed, you have touched.
Mm.
Because these 13 people will say, and some of them are first time authors, they will say, oh, I'm an author. Where is your book published? By Enspire Books. Action Speaks Louder. Oh, tell me about it. And if 13 people tell 13 people about those books, guess what? You have a legacy now. You have a generational legacy, right?
Yeah.
And your story is your legacy. You knew you had that gift that you love to write. And this is what I have heard one of my teachers in Thailand say that everybody has something good about them. You have to know what is good about you. And when you know what's good about you, use it to serve the world. It's that simple,
Yeah.
right? Know what's good
Absolutely.
about you. So now you talked about your light self, and you definitely look as a light body, a being of light. And light always has these two meanings for me. One is the light that we see loose, and the other one is light, not heavy. Now, take us through those darknesses that you had to navigate through when there was no one.
Hmm.
when there was no one. You had, you said, oh, I'm in a law school and I'm not good at this. I don't want to do this. I'm going to Connecticut, right?
Yeah.
You had tons of conversations with yourself in your room, in your closet, in the shower, alone in your walk, hike, whatever. So to help us navigate through those darknesses. And each time you came to a crossroad, what did you tell yourself that helped you break through that and break free? Take us through that journey now.
Well, it's been, yeah, as you said, it's been several crossroads. And funny for me, what always kind of kept me afloat was my connection to music. Um, and this is where, when I tell people, yeah, I play in a hardcore punk band, they say, oh, punk, what's like, you have these people with the mohawks, the leather jackets, and all the stuff. I said, no, it's hardcore punk. Hardcore punk is a difference. Punk rock is no future, nihilistic mentality, but hardcore punk is basically the complete opposite of do something with your life. And this is what I've got away from. There are a lot of DIY mentality is no one is doing anything for you. You have to get up and do it yourself. Don't wait for life to happen. And this was always kind of a little bit of a mantra that since I'm 10 or 11 years old, I grew up with this and have constantly been around this. So this was basically in my bloodstream. So one can say that this DIY, do it, don't wait. But there have been really dark times for me as well, where I felt like this world doesn't make sense to me anymore. And it's been difficult times, especially when I got back from Australia, that I was like, for the first few months, I couldn't see any people. I was just like locked myself in because nothing really made sense. The whole world with all these lockdowns and all these permissions, what you have to do, what you're not allowed to do, and all the stuff. And for me, it's like from both sides, like you have to get vaccinated, you don't have to get vaccinated, don't, and from both sides were just annoying me. And I felt like, can anyone just shut up? Just like I wanted to mute this world and just like take a step back and breathe. So that was very hard for me, where I deleted all my social media, everything that I had to do with basically the outside world, because I felt like it's such a weird time, and everybody is an expert on anything without actually knowing anything. And so yeah, it was a dark time for me, where I really started reflecting myself on my own. um, as I said, music helped me a lot. A lot of lyrics from the hardcore punk scene are very, very positive about um, being yourself, reflecting yourself, like a PMA thing, like positive mental attitude. Don't give up, basically. But it took me several months to actually get up again. And I also made a conscious decision with a friend to move to a different city and to start an apartment together. So I don't live on my own, and I'm kind of forced to live with someone else and be social again. I forced myself because I knew if I'm just here on my own, um, things can turn very bad, and I don't want this to happen. So I have to do something now, because if I'm just here rating, nobody is coming to me. Nobody will help me. I have to take the first step. So of course I did. Got into the apartment. It was a great time. I lived there for 6 months. I also started seeing a therapist as well, because I think it's very, very important, and everybody should have one, no matter if you have, let's say, problems or not. It's the stigma about society. If you have a therapist, something is wrong with you. What I feel like is no. If you don't have one, if you don't have someone neutral to talk to, then something must be wrong, I feel like, because I always love to switch around the perspectives that people give me. Um, so yeah, this was kind of picking me up. But I think my overall mantra getting through darkest time was music, reading, and through the 6 months, I couldn't write a single line. And I kind of knew this is not me, because I love writing. I always carry a little notebook with me. It's like hardly a day where I don't write. Even just, I actually have this practice where I get up and write. and it doesn't make sense what I'm writing, but at least I'm writing. I do something. I also train my mind the first thing in the morning, like just write 2 or 3 pages, just random stuff that comes to your mind. It doesn't make sense. And this helped me as well to get back into writing, to get back into forming sentences, get back into the language. And then while I was doing it, I felt like I'm starting to reconnect with myself. And I kind of started to remind myself of who I actually want to be. And then I remembered when I was living in America, I was 20 back then. This is when I discovered I want to be a writer. I want to write books on my own. And so kind of I reflected myself for those months where I was alone. When I forced myself out was the step to take action to get towards this, to become a writer again, to fill my life with spirit again and joy again. Yes, so the darkest time I kind of pushed through it, and
Mhm.
I always remember myself that I don't want to go back there because I have not been with myself. I felt like a spiritless, soulless person who's just there in the dark. And I think a lot of people are going through the same stuff, but maybe don't know the essential tools to get out of this. And I was very fortunate enough that I got into a music scene that is very positive, very driven of personal growth, that I had somehow hidden inside of me that I just needed to rekindle. And fortunately, I got out of it and I started this publisher with the goal to get people out of the dark.
Mhm. As I listen to you, Matthias, what I'm hearing you say is you are an extremely grateful person.
Yes.
You're
Yeah.
very grateful. Like you are constantly reiterating with how fortunate you are, how lucky you are, and you did this. During the lockdown, I was unhoused because in 2017 we had a fire over here and all the rent went up by $100, $200, $500.
Yeah.
And and then in 2018 I had a frozen shoulder. 2019 I said, you know what? I'm not doing anything. I gave up everything. And then right in the beginning, I went to India for 4 months and right and Sri Lanka. And and as I was flying back, I went to England, Berlin, and when I was flying back, lockdown, right?
Yeah.
I came in and we had lockdown. For 2 years, we had lockdown. And guess what? I lived in 11 houses
Oh, wow.
because I really said, I can use the word God, but it doesn't have to be God. You can say universe, you can say Holy Spirit, you can say higher self, you can say it, you can say anything you want. But whatever is that force, commune with it and ask to be guided,
Yeah.
and opportunities show up. You don't have to be alone. And my friends would say, like, because I became a Zoom nerd. Every day I was on at least one Zoom community, a Sangha, someone or the other, like writers, astrologers, Buddhists, and Vedantists, whoever, And
Yeah.
Buddhism also has so many different, from Sri Lanka, from Thailand. Give me something positive that I can connect with people, and I'm not afraid of technology. And people
Mhm.
would say, like, yeah, how do you keep moving? I said, oh, it's very easy. My moon is in Cancer, and what does a crab do? It takes its home on its back, right? A crab
Yes.
carries its home on its back, so it can go anywhere it wants to because the ocean is its home and it can be on the land too, number one. And number two, in 2005, I had this, like, I was at a great crossroad. Moved from Texas to California. And one of the things that came up for me after a meditation at Lake Shrine, which is a temple started by Yogananda, and it came to me, you're a divine gypsy. And I'm like, yeah, this is the time to put it into the land that, yeah, I belong to the world and the world is my home. So when you talk about music, yes, and it's almost like I'm not making this up. I have felt connected with you from that first email I received with you from you. And music, reading, writing. I'm crazy about it. Like I have to clear my mess over here because there's paper here and all around. Because every day I have to write. And this is what I tell people about writing. Writing is a cathartic process. Because when I don't write, I worry. Because it's the same thought spinning in your head, right? So
Mhm.
writing is like, getting all the thoughts out of your brain and dumping them on the paper, and then you don't have to think about it because you'll
Yeah,
allow something else to come up to the surface. Inspiration, like Inspire Books,
yeah,
right? And you said, fill my life with spirit. And everybody needs a therapist. Yes, everybody needs someone neutral because you have your friends who will flatter you or pull
yeah,
you down, your relatives who will pull you down. Yeah, everything is okay. Yeah, you look nice, you know? And nobody wants to tell you that there's booger on your teeth or some on your nose or something on your teeth. And because everybody says, no, I don't want to embarrass him. And finally, when someone says it, or you go to the bathroom and you see it and you're like, why didn't you tell me? It's okay. And someone even tell you, we accept you with everything. And I'm like, and I have been walking around with booger in my nose and green stuff on my teeth, right? That's what
yeah,
friends do. And your
absolutely.
enemies, let's not talk about them. So, positive mental attitude. If our audience, if our listener, or because this is also going to be on YouTube, and I'm going to connect it with you so people can see that you were here on this in this conversation. And I know I'm going to have too many more conversations with you because I just don't want to stop it over here. But what I want people to take away from this, if they did not get anything, some people may say, like, oh, he's so lucky, he could do this. Oh, he's white, he can do it. Oh, he's young, he can do it. Oh, he's German, he can do it. People will come up with, oh, she's an Indian, she can do it. Oh, she has an accent, she can do it.
Yeah,
People come up with reasons why they can't do it. But
excuses.
one, right? Yeah. Thank you for calling it out. I say reasons, but you call it out. Those are excuses. And this is what I know to be true from working with people for 20 years. When they give up hope and they don't find any hope, there's denial. You deny. "Ah, it's okay. It's okay. It'll get better. It's not happening to me." And denial and hope are two opposite forces. Like Viktor Frankl said, when man gives up hope, he stops living. And you never gave up hope. You always found a way out. You're like this flowing river, you're like the wind. You are cutting through the mountains and finding your path. You can go this way, you can go this way, you can go right, you can go left. For our audience who are listening and not watching, you can go above, you can go below, or you can go down into the earth and find your way out into the light. You can do it with one mantra: positive mental attitude. And if you can't find it on your own, forget your friends, forget your enemies, go find a coach, go find a therapist, just a neutral sounding board. That's
Absolutely.
it. That's
Totally,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. So anything you want to give in the end to the person who's listening to it right now, whether they want to be an author or whether, because I will leave links all over the place of how people can find you, but anything that you can leave them with that they will be like, oh, let me carry this with me.
I think the most important lesson I have learned throughout the years is that you should never be afraid of being yourself, no matter what other people tell you to do. Because that was a lesson I have learned because I've always listened to my parents when I was young. That's why I started as a kindergarten teacher. Although I knew I don't want to do it, but I've done it and I've felt like I wasted time doing it. While I could have rather really done something that I truly wanted. And at one point, there came a time where I felt like I want to do my thing, and I'm like, don't have apologies. Like, just do it. Be yourself. And I think that's the most important lesson we need to learn in life, to be ourselves, because we never get back this lifetime that we have right now. Right? We will never get back this day that we're living right now. So why wasting it being someone else or just trying to please people of who they expect us to be? So yeah, that was one of the greatest steps for me and one of probably most important lessons I've learned to actually start working on myself, working through the silence. Now I actually enjoy silence and yeah, started my own publisher. Otherwise, I would be a kindergarten teacher and be not happy, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Living an unfulfilled life.
Yeah.
Yes. And now you not only have fulfillment in your life, but you also help others find their purpose,
Mm.
right?
Yes, absolutely.
So thank you so much for your time today for this awesome, amazing conversation. And this is a beginning of many more series where we will bring in nuggets of what you can do for yourself because someone else has done it before you. So you are a way shower, Matthias, and I'm so grateful. And I feel fortunate that I met you, a kindred soul from
Thank
the
you so much.
alternate subculture.
Yes. Thank you so
Go
much for
create.
having me.
Thank you. Go create your own subculture, do
Yeah.
something different and
Yeah.
don't give up on yourself. Lots of love, lots of blessings. Okay,
Thank
bye
you.
for now.